Marvel and the X-Men comics line surprised us this week with the free official guide to June 2021's Hellfire Gala, a 12-issue crossover event spanning almost all of the X-Men line for the month. With our contributions via Bob Quinn, Lucas Werneck, Russell Dautermann, Valerio Schiti, the guide is primarily an artistic fashion design showcase, but there's also an interview with Emma Frost and some interesting information setting the stage for the hotly anticipated and still fairly mysterious event in the Reign of X. Today I'll answer, what did we learn about the Hellfire Gala here? Who's on the new X-Men team? Theories and predictions for the Hellfire Gala, things to come in Hickman's X-Men. Hey everybody, I'm Dave Busing, and you are listening to Krakin Krakoa, number 176. If you like the Comic Book Herald YouTube channel, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing, and commenting. It helps me out reach more people quite a bit. You can find full X-Men reading orders, including for the whole Reign of X, over on comicbookherald.com. Some spoilers for what's going on in the Hickman era and the Dawn of X and the Reign of X of X-Men may follow, although again, primarily today, I will be talking about this free Hellfire Gala guide and what's to come. You can get it for free yourself here on Comixology today digitally or at your local comic shop. Now, in an interview with Marvel Editor-in-Chief C.B. Cebulski, right at the front, he says the new team of X-Men will be unveiled, treaties and trade deals will be brokered, and one absolutely monumental announcement that you cannot miss will be made, which is very interesting. As far as the X-Men team, well, they have not been unveiled in the comics yet, but Marvel has unveiled them on Twitter, on Marvel.com, and of course in some promotional articles as well. We know that the new X-Men lineup is going to consist of Jean Grey and Cyclops, team leaders, which we knew. Polaris won the fan vote, meaning she'll be moving from the pages of X-Factor to the pages of X-Men. We're going to have Synch and Wolverine, which was all but a lock following X-Men number 19, written by Jonathan Hickman with art by Mahmoud Asrar. It felt like a lock because, again, heroes of Krakoa, right? This is a fan vote, but it's a fan vote within the island of Krakoa, right? So you have to think about who are their heroes. So we have Synch and Wolverine, of course. Now, the two surprises, the two sort of wild cards in this announcement, we have Rogue, finally free from the pages of Excalibur, where she has been doing positively nothing, and Sunfire as well, likely based on the fact that Sunfire was sort of a hero of Krakoa in the pages of Sword during the King in Black event, providing a son for Krakoa when Null in the King in Black had blacked that out. So that's going to be the new X-Men lineup. I'm intrigued by this, but there are going to be some changes to come with X-Men, which we'll talk about as we go here. Now, in the Hellfire Gala guide, we have Ben Urich, a longtime journalist here in the Marvel Universe, longtime for the Daily Bugle, interviewing Emma Frost. Remember, Emma Frost has been planning this gala in the pages of Marauders for months and months of comics, dating back to the likes of giant-sized Magneto when she had Magneto secure her special gala island, replete with Sentinel parts just for the event. I still definitely can't put my finger on exactly what Emma's plotting, especially when you factor in really the first major gathering of humans and mutants since Krakoa started, but make no mistake, she is plotting a something, okay? And we learned here in the interview that Dr. Doom is in fact invited, right? So like they're going to have dignitaries, they're going to have heads of states, but you know, the fact that Dr. Doom is invited, this also tells us they are going to have individuals, leaders of nations that are not in alliance with Krakoa. You know, if you remember back in House of X, there was a whole list of nations that are not accepting Krakoan medicines. They are invited to the gala as well, right, to come. And we know obviously from the, the mini crossover written by Chip Zdarsky, Fantastic Four X-Men, that Dr. Doom is like very much opposed to what Mutantkind is doing on Krakoa. Nonetheless, perhaps he will make it out of Guardians of the Galaxy and Sword to attend this event. We do also get a tease in this interview, potentially, of a Jumbo Carnation fashion book in the fall. I guess this is just going to be like, maybe a free giveaway of all the designs or something, but I would love an actual giant-sized Jumbo Carnation, like #1, with details, entirely provided in their voice. I think that would be really fun. Like, make a story out of it, give a proper Jumbo Carnation thing, and then, again, showcase all of these really incredible Hellfire Gala designs. I think one thing, X-Men fandom has shown for this is there is immense appetite for what Jumbo Carnation is putting on all of our favorite mutants. Now, Ben Urich also references in this interview Hellfire Galas years back in New York, and Emma kind of cuts him off and tells him, don't worry about it, it's not going to be the same thing. But this is a reference to Classic X-Men number 7, okay? Classic X-Men, it was a reprint series from 1986 to 1990, but each issue of, kind of the Claremont and often Cockrum and Byrne era, Classic X-Men comics, they had individual, unique stories in the back, and they're very interesting. They often fill in little details here and there, sometimes inessential, but sometimes quite good. And this is, reason number 1 also, like, don't get too excited about the fact that Chris Claremont and John Bolton are listed as a creative pairing on Marauders number 21, it's definitely going to be a reprint of this issue, okay? I all but guarantee it's going to be a reprint of Classic X-Men number 7, because this is when we see a Hellfire Gala in the pages of X-Men comics. Now, there are a few moments from this backup that I find especially interesting. One is the debut and exit stage left of Lord Chantel, a character she is a mutant teleporter. She is a romantic interest of the abusive and awful, as always, Sebastian Shaw, and she, again, also sacrifices her life in fending off some Sentinels, in saving Sebastian Shaw's life. She's deeply committed to him despite his awfulness, and she dies. She is killed by a Sentinel during this, what was at the time a Hellfire Gala, right? And sort of the events then lead into the situation where Lords is one and done, okay? She's there and then she's gone in this Classic X-Men. Now, Shaw's eulogy is perhaps prophetic here, obviously, where he says, "No longer will mutants be victims, but rulers, first of the Hellfire Club and then the world." Now, this reads very standard supervillain for the time, but when you consider it in the Krakoa era, right, when we are looking at the no longer allowing mutants to be victims and considering sort of their place as, you know, rulers of the world, is definitely a supervillain mantra. But if you consider just sort of the heads of the world, the dominant species on the planet, the evolutionary dominant species, now it shapes into something new, which is kind of where we're at with Krakoa, with House of X, and post Powers of 10, okay? And the main reason I also find it particularly interesting in this backup story is, obviously, it's a Hellfire Gala, you know, so it's got a connection, but also Lord Chantel is on the cover of Marauders number 22, as far as I can tell. And so the post Hellfire Gala will follow up with this issue written by Jerry Duggan here on that original Classic X-Men story, right? We have not seen that character since. Makes sense, she could be resurrected. So we'll be going back a little bit to the Hellfire days, I think, and kind of getting what is the new state of the Hellfire Club post-Gala. So I'm very curious to see how that plays out. Now, as far as the designs presented in these pages in the Hellfire Gala guide, my favorite thing about the Russell Dautermann designs is mutants using their powers to accessorize. I think this is so cool, right? It takes it and it makes this concept of mutant fashion completely unique, because it's one thing to like try to emulate modern fashion, right, and human fashion, but the thing that I always try to get my head around, and I'm not a fashion expert by any measure, I've worn the same t-shirt and jeans since I was 7, okay? It is not my place, but you know, with Jumbo Carnation being a mutant fashion designer, it's like, all right, what does that mean? And one thing Dautermann, I think, has highlighted here in his Emma Frost designs and his Storm designs is like, yeah, it means they're using their powers. Like Storm, for example, has like lightning and rain surrounding her at all times. It's super cool stuff, and a lot of the costumes look incredible as a result. Now, one costume that really stood out to me is because it's on an individual that I did not expect to see. That is Selene. Selene is present in the designs for X-Corp number 2. This indicates she is not, in fact, in a pit with Sabretooth on Krakoa, as I have theorized in a previous Krakin Krakoa, where I wondered if Selene is the second exiled prisoner on the Krakoan mutant island. I would love to see Selene's coat presence explained in some detail in the pages of X-Corp. I think it will be very interesting to see, because again, for those of you who haven't watched the previous Krakin Krakoa on Selene, she was captured in the pages of the Ta-Nehisi Coates written Captain America, and she killed a lot of guys. Like, a lot of guys, and one of the mutant laws is, of course, kill no man. Now, there were a lot of people saying initially, because Selene has a presence throughout this run, actually, as part of the Power Elite, and a lot of people were saying, okay, this probably occurs prior to Krakoa, you know, Coates and Captain America, they're doing a different thing than Krakoa, but here you have Shuri actually mention Krakoa and say there's a council that would very much like a word with you, so it definitely confirms that like what Selene has been doing is part of the Krakoan experience. Where was the trial? Where was the conversation? She gets to party again? That's a wild decision, I think, by the Quiet Council, and I would like to see some of those details explained. I do find it remarkable how X-Men comics are in such a state of enthusiasm right now that even almost like, 2 years after House of X, that mutants walking around, in boss costumes on the red carpet is an event in and of itself. It shows you how hungry the 2010s made X-Men fans, I think, that stuff like this is so ravenously, eaten up. Now, I will say too, Colossus, probably my favorite costume and just look of the entire gala, like definitely the one that stands out the most, because I never think of Colossus as fashion forward or even particularly cool in any respect. This is the coolest and obviously the sexiest Colossus has ever looked, at least since his proletarian days back in Uncanny X-Men, and of course those Byrne, or is it, what are we at here, Claremont and Byrne, Claremont and Cockrum, I can't remember, it's been a minute since I read them, but they're older comics, and you gotta love the Proletarian, an all-time cosplay favorite. I'm also very on board with Mr. Sinister's outfit just being his classic cape. It doesn't really look any different than his standard apparel, which is fair, right? Like, guys glam all the time. Always looks good, always looks ready for a gala. I think that's a fair statement to be making. Although I can't see Mr. Sinister being too happy about Exodus with a cape that rivals his own. That probably, like, definitely the Hellions are going to, whatever happens is going to lead to them just making a mess of things. But Exodus and Sinister's capes being similar length and power might be the catalyst. Now, Mystique's page here. Pretty interesting. Miss Darkholm attends unaccompanied. For now, she says, a threat always in her voice. While this reminds us that Mystique is definitely scheming to get Destiny back, damn the consequences to Krakoa, I do kind of suspect it's a red herring about tackling that particular development during the gala, which, remember, was set up in X-Men number 6 way back when. It has been a while since we've seen plans for Mystique. Although, if you think about it, if all the mutants are at the gala, it sure seems like Krakoa would be open for Mystique's subterfuge, or frankly anyone's for that matter, right? And I know X-Force is like, their story is going to be providing security for the gala, but who's watching Krakoa while all this is going on? That got me wondering. This also got me thinking about something else too, which is how annoyed I'm going to be with Professor X, Magneto, and Moira X if Mystique is Krakoa's undoing. Like, is there anything more predictable? You know, like, they're clearly not delivering what she wants. She is clearly an unsatisfied employee, and if they're blindsided by Raven's scheming, that's going to be lame as hell. Like, absolutely they should see that coming. And this is a situation where the master planner vibes of House of X need to be in place. Like, I need Professor X, Magneto, and Moira X to be ready for that and to have a plan in motion. Now, speaking of Professor X, guy can't dress up to save his life, and I'm dying. He looks hilarious, and I love it. I'm here for the all-gold Cerebro, although it does raise a question if this is spray paint, a Professor X illusion, right? He's just making people see this cool gold design, or if he actually has one of the other Cerebros, because remember, he has the main Cerebro and then, like, what is it, 4 or 5 backups. Are one of them actually styled for just such an occasion? Like, do the Cerebros all have actually different looks? I think that'd be cool as hell. I hope it's the latter. Like, I really hope he's put some stylistic thought into his backup Cerebros instead of having them all be silver classic Cerebro helmets. Now, the issue ends with, the guide ends with this program of events, which gives us some brief solicits for the tie-in issues, okay? The program of events, we have Planet Size, you know, basically, here's the main takeaway for me. Planet Size X-Men. Going to be a big issue by Jerry Duggan and Pepe Larraz is where we'll get the major announcement, okay? And then in Sword number 6, details about the new development will be provided by Abigail Brand. This basically guarantees that whatever the big announcement is space related. I think this should not be a major surprise, but the fact that the major announcement is coming in Planet Size, an issue called Planet Size, and the fact that the follow-up details are provided in Sword, okay, clearly the big X-Men announcement is going to be space-related, but what's it going to be? Well, I think one thing to look at here is, are we going to get a lot of details about Storm's plans for space and Mars, perhaps, given the redness of this cover? Remember, Storm set her sights on the stars at the end of 10 of Swords, and she's been fading out the track in Marauders for like a half a year now, right? She's been getting ready to go. That's clearly, I think, going to happen in Planet Size X-Men, where we maybe see Storm saying, okay, my mission now is to, I don't know exactly what, but like carve out space for mutant kind to find all the alien mutants in the world and you know, align them with our cause, to find out habitats for mutants, you know, she obviously has these incredible weather powers to like carve out habitats across space for safe, you know, homelands for mutants, like something to that effect. Or we could have a situation too, where how about the X-Men, Emma Frost and the Gala, declare Earth as one of their mutant homeworlds, okay? Declare Earth as like, hey, just wanted to let you all know, like, this is a mutant homeworld in our now galactic society that we're planning on launching, right? What a power move that would be. It would also make it the real reign of X. You know, I've said a handful of times it's a semantic thing, but the transition from the post-House Dawn of X to the reign of X, okay, hasn't been handled especially well, because they kind of jumped the gun. I think Marvel really jumped the gun in saying, oh, we're in the reign of X now, when really they're still establishing things. But the Gala suggests like, oh, okay, this is where we announce our reign. Okay, mutants here are ready to rule. We are ready to reign. We are comfortable in that position. I think declaring Earth as one of the mutant homeworlds would be a great, really, really fun way to do that. The other option too is like, because the details are going to be provided in Sword, How about we get into that Mysterium, this mysterious artifact that Sword has been mining, and we showcase what it can do, right? Can it allow individuals to access alternate realities? Could we be looking at a Storm in the Exiles miniseries or spinoff? Something to that effect I think could be super cool and fun as well. One theory to come out of like, ooh, major announcement, could this lead back to the prophesized wedding of Tony Stark and Emma Frost way back in the history of the Marvel Universe? Now, people like to reference this because this particular mention is surrounded by things that actually did happen in Marvel, right? Like you had the King in Black event, which just wrapped up. You had like the Age of Nochu, Moon Knight story in the pages of Avengers. Like the things that it's around actually were stories that did happen after the fact. The wedding of Tony Stark and Emma Frost has not happened though, okay? Here's the thing. It's not going to happen, okay? It's not going to happen. Emma Frost has something scheming. It's not a wedding with Tony Stark. I will stake my socks on it. There's no way that is what is going to happen. I just think that is a done deal. It's not coming unless the only possibility, and this is not my idea, this was definitely mentioned on one of the live Krakin Krakoas from a listener. How about in Heroes Reborn? How about in an alternate reality, we could have Tony Stark and Emma Frost married there? Check this one off the list that way in an alt reality. So after all this, Marvel has announced a series of surprise mystery books and changes across the X-Men comics line. The fan consensus on the Leah Williams and Valerio Schiti mystery project, which is classified at the bottom of this chart, is that it's going to be called The Trial. That seems to be what everyone has sleuthed and theorized that this book will be. There are two immediate possibilities that come to mind for a trial book, which I have to think is going to be like a miniseries, but maybe not. Scarlet Witch would be number one, right? Putting Scarlet Witch on trials for the crimes of decimation, for the post-House of M crimes against mutant kind. This is the thing that gets referenced the most by far. It would definitely make sense to put the Scarlet Witch on trial and sort of maybe give a new direction for that character and for that status quo into the future, which I think could be cool. The other option would be Beast. Let's put Beast on trial for basically unilaterally running the mutant CIA and accidentally genociding a nation, right? Fair things I think to put someone on trial for. The other thing I want to mention here too is okay, so X-Men the comic is going to relaunch in July with Jerry Duggan writing and Pepe Larraz on art. That's cool. That's good. It also means Jonathan Hickman's not going to be writing X-Men anymore, okay? This freaked out a lot of fans because this is kind of the Hickman era of X-Men. Guess what? He's still around. It's going to be okay, everybody. He's around on a book that is announced in September 2021. Now, my initial guesses here were it's going to be called New X-Men, or it's going to be called Uncanny X-Men. Uncanny X-Men would be, of course, the classic, long-time, major X-Men title, which would make sense to have Hickman on. But New X-Men would tap into probably his, clearest influence as he's been writing and talking about X-Men, which is the Grant Morrison era, right? With a lot of times by Frank Quitely. So I think New X-Men would actually make the most sense. Now, one thing that it has surfaced post the most recent issue of Sword, which was Sword number 5, and also with today's Cable, number 10 actually, we're seeing the Arakko mutants pop up a little bit more. We're starting to see more from Arakko, who's been very, very quiet. Hey, remember those millions of mutants that are hanging out next to Krakoa? Yeah, we're starting to see them a little bit more. Could the Hickman book be an Arakko-focused book? Even if you call it New X-Men, honestly. They're new mutants. That works, right? Have a full team of Arakko mutants. I would love that. That'd be super cool. But we will see, right? It'll be interesting. My vote here is for a new X-Men book with a huge focus on Arakko. I think that would be the most exciting. So there's your road to the Hellfire Gala. What do you think will happen? What do you want to see happen? And most importantly, who wore it best? Let me know in the comments. I definitely want to hear your thoughts and theories for what's going on in X-Men here as we approach, again, this June 2021's Hellfire Gala. Okay, it's going to be throughout the entire month on Wednesday 6/16, this being Earth 6/16 in the Marvel Universe. On June 16th, that's when Planet Size X-Men is going to drop. Should be a super special, super fun day this summer in X-Men comics. So I am definitely looking forward to it. Thanks everybody for listening. I'm Dave. You can support Comic Book Herald over on patreon.com/Comic Book Herald. For as little as $1 a month, you can get some cool benefits and also support the site, which is greatly appreciated. Thanks to everybody in the mysterious benefactors tier. Thank you, Jesse W., Megan Getman, Cole Weathers, Martin Lopez, Chris Isidro, Brent Bowser, Professor X3769, P.D. Appleseed, Verisimilitude, Terranort, Ed Mackey, Clyde Glide, Pinball Drew, Mike Solomons, Matt Mahoney, and John Samander. Thank you for your support. You find my stuff over at comicbookherald.com, at Comic Book Herald on social. Look for the best comics ever in My Marvelous Year podcast from me, and don't forget to comment what do you think's coming in the road to the X-Men Hellfire Gala. Thanks everybody for listening, and as always, enjoy the comics.